So, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. I hope you hear me and see me well. Please let me know. Thanks already for being in the chat. Hi to Peated. Hi, I think it's Frederick, right? The new channel, I guess. And also Anthony and Nikki. Yeah, I know you have some work to do. So hi, Anthony and Nikki, do you hear me well? Can you just tell me that? And then I'll explain what will be going on. All right. So Menno is there. I know he's very busy tonight. Johnny's there. Hi, Johnny. Drum divided evening. Yeah, maybe we'll bring later on Frederick to explain his new project, right? Okay, so good night, everyone. This is today my birthday, and a bit like last year, as I couldn't gather with friends or family, I decided to drum along with you guys, and also a bit exceptionally, but I found this idea very nice, as our friend YouTuber Toby is his birthday is yesterday, so we're both Scorpios, so why not join in and maybe speak about the whiskeys we like, and also maybe get to know better for those who don't know Toby yet. So please welcome my first and main guest tonight, Toby. Hi, Toby. How you doing?
Hi, Greg. Happy birthday.
So good. Thank you. Happy birthday too. Good to see you here. I like to watch your videos, and often I have some ideas in mind. I don't already or all the time comment, but I say this guy, I have to ask him this or that. I didn't do more because I thought we were going to meet each other maybe this year, end of year, with Luna, with New Drum Drinker and others, but the story of the COVID did decide something else. So there you go. So can you please, for those who, there are some still, don't know your channel, can you please introduce yourself, my friend, in a few, let's say a few minutes, and there will be question after that.
Okay, so I mainly do YouTube reviews. I also have a Facebook and Instagram and Twitter page. I try to cover, all things whiskey, from reviewing new products, old products, things I like, things people have sent me as samples. And I started off mainly doing things like blind tastings, because that was a really good way to learn about whiskey. I've been into whiskey for a couple of years, and my channel started shortly after I got into whiskey. It was an unusual way. I'm sure we'll cover that in a bit. But yeah, I'm a couple of years down the line, and yeah, I've really been bitten by the whiskey bug.
So it was not a written question, but did you discover whiskey through internet, really, blogs and vlogs, or books? Yeah,
it's primarily YouTube. It started off by watching a video by the YouTuber PewDiePie.
Oh, I don't know it.
My 18-year-old son at the time showed me this video on Japanese whiskey, and I didn't know anything about Japanese whiskey. I didn't even know it was a thing. And I think PewDiePie made it sound really tasty and interesting. And I was sort of hooked by the idea of trying Japanese whiskey, because up until then, I really only thought there was Scotch whiskey, Irish whiskey, and American whiskey. I really didn't know anything beyond the sort of very popular brands.
Well, we have to fix that about Japanese whiskey. Let me try a bit more light. Maybe it's better like that. Yeah, maybe I will send you some stuff. But
yeah, so the first whiskey I bought was you know, I've drunk whiskey many times in the past, and whiskey was always something you mixed with Coke or something similar. So, you know, I liked the taste of whiskey mixed with stuff, but didn't really drink whiskey neat, and that was a new experience. And the first whiskey I bought to try neat was the Cheetah from Suntory.
Ooh. Do you understand? It's quite some remarkable start, because many of us started with something much cheaper and Scottish regular stuff. And
so I did have I had a cheap bottle of Scotch Blended Whisky, you know, supermarket own blend. And when I bought a bottle of the Cheetah, I tried that, and then I tried that with the supermarket own blend, and it was night and day. And I instantly thought, well, whiskey is a lot, you know, more interesting than I was led to believe. And it started me interested, trying to find out more. So, and I realized it just wasn't Japanese whiskey that tasted impressive. It was all whiskey, as long as you buy quality stuff.
So how many would you say whiskeys did you try so far? Did you take counts or?
Yeah, so I haven't got an exact count, but I'd say it's well over 300 now.
Ooh, that's big.
Yeah, so
that's big already. Give you a picture also, because now we have a lot of world whiskeys. That back in the days when I started around 20 years ago, there were not so many world whiskeys, except the 5 First Nations that started whiskey. McMyra was just beginning a few days after I did my first Whiskey Lives. Japanese whiskey was already high, but more for whiskey lovers, passionate people, geeks and stuff, than for the most audience. And when I started to do Whiskey Live, to attend to Whiskey Lives, but it's only around 2010 that I think this, most of these world whiskeys popped in everywhere. And
yeah, so
don't know what your thoughts about that.
Yeah, so for me, I was obviously already using the internet and YouTube to discover more about whiskey, and I already had an idea that whiskey should taste a lot better than I was imagining. So obviously, when I realized that it actually did taste better than I was expecting, I wanted to try more. And I think it was the Whiskey Vault and the Whiskey Tribe, you know, Daniel and Rex, that sort of gave me an idea of some of the whiskeys I should try. And then shortly after that, it was Aqua Vitae that stumbled across, and you know, that gave me an idea of even more whiskies to go out and buy. And slowly but surely, my collection started to grow, and I started to, you know, improve my palate. And I then found the London Whisky Club, and obviously that's where finding another, you know, group of people that share a similar interest, you can share samples, and they were more than happy to, you know, hand over many samples in return for nothing, you know, just because they wanted to share
fantastic
their journey and share those whiskies with me.
It's funny to see how things have changed, Toby, because when I started, there were only a few blogs. I don't have an idea if there was any YouTube channel, maybe Ralphie and Foodquig, that are considered, I think, the first ones probably. And there were blogs with almost no pictures most of the time, something very raw. And I started chatting with people and say, oh, I found this. What do you think of this? And to put a long story short, it's only through a very few meetings that we get acquainted with some people that became friends, and we did an informal club. But it's because we share what we had physically. It was not a COVID time. And it was not a time where people were exchanging samples like right now. I don't think also the companies did what they do now, and it's very clever. And I think for beginners, it's except the COVID time, it's the beautiful time, because you have this opportunity. especially in UK. I see there's a lot of clubs, and the Summerton Club, also a lot of people working very easily, and we have to really commend them for that. With some people over here. Oh no, yeah, it's New Drum Drinker, because what they do in the CO, and Anthony, if you want to pop in, you're more than welcome. What they do is very new for me, and very interesting. Although I have to say I will miss a lot of events and samples and stuff, because I'm not in UK, so it's easier for you guys. But I see that the scene, the UK scene, is very active, and I think you will agree that also you're living a boom about English distilleries, right?
Yeah,
At the
definitely.
moment.
You know, English distilleries, you know, totaling 20 plus now, and yeah, so we are getting a lot of interesting liquid coming out of new distilleries, and although, you know, most of the distilleries are still quite young and they're producing just 3-year-old liquid, that's still, you know, each distillery has its own character. They have their own stories, so it's definitely bringing something new to the table, because, you know, up until 20 years ago, we didn't have an English whiskey scene. There was nothing.
Well, I tried you won't believe it, but I tried a new make of the first English whiskey and go. It was interesting, but it was really something difficult. And when I started, I have to say also, it was very difficult for me to distinguish a new make from another. It is something that requires, I don't know if you agree with me, requires a lot of experience to be able to recognize the distillate, or to see in which kind of spirit it belongs, category, region, distillery type. It's very difficult also, because today the cask importance changes a bit the game, if I may say. There's a lot more cask extraction asked from the distillers than before, I think, for the good and for the bad, in my opinion. Not always for the good, but it depends. So yeah, things have changed a lot. So it's interesting to have your experience and learn what you also what do you expect, what do you want today to have in a whiskey. Maybe it was not a written question, but what do you expect from a whiskey to be today? Difficult question, maybe.
Yeah, I suppose that is a difficult question.
Let's shorten it, Toby, to what do you expect from a recent, very recent, new, or even English, if you prefer, distillery to be? What do you expect it to be, to help you like a Scottish whiskey, or really to stand out on his own? Or
yeah,
you see what I mean?
That's interesting, because from my experience with English distilleries so far, their character is quite different from Scotch whiskies. Most English whiskies are produced on a very small scale compared to most Scotch whiskies.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think that's because they probably realize that they don't have the international market. So they don't have that heritage and that pedigree to be able to, you know, use elsewhere. So until they build a name for themselves, they can't really sell in large volumes. Whereas even an unknown Scottish distillery probably has more potential to be selling on a larger scale, because of, you know, the fact it is a Scotch whiskey. But yeah, in terms of character, a lot of English whiskies tend to, you know, they tend to be quite fruity in their new make, which adds quite an interesting character to the you know, resulting whiskey. I think cask selection is interesting because, again, being small distilleries, they don't have the buying power, so they often have to you know, fight to get good value casks compared to the big Scottish distilleries. But obviously, they want their liquid to have quite a lot of impact in the short period of time, which 3 years is all they've got to try and return some money on their investment, and they have to have a good product after those 3 years. So a lot of them go for virgin or recharred oak barrels, and that can sometimes, be too much on the distillate.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that a bit not scares me, but puts me off from several distilleries, even some in the hype like Bimber or others that rely heavily on red wine finishes and stuff, or maturing. But then again, I know it has to be different. It's like the French. I have even more criticism towards the French distilleries, mind you, the ones coming in now. I'm waiting to have a few more bottles, 3 or 4, honestly, to do a special French whiskies live, because I will speak about the same 2 or 3 or 4, and now we have more than 40 and maybe 70 on the go distilleries. I need to have at least my 6 favorite or 7 favorite on the table to be able to present something decent, in my opinion. But yeah, this is a chance you have now in England. We're not going to talk only about England, but we're going to be a bit world whiskies, not so much because we have to focus on things. And also the idea we had that came along a bit like an improvisation was to pick whiskies. We're going to go into that shortly, to pick whiskies that we both have, whether we have samples or bottles. And probably for most of them, I know, not for this one probably, because it's gone very expensive now. But for most of them, I think we can say they're under 100, I don't know in pounds, but can we say our selection, except the Highland Park, is under 90 euros? 80 pounds, maybe?
Yeah, probably even less than that. So, yeah, they're all reasonably affordable. They're not cheap, but they're reasonably affordable.
Highland, yeah. Should we start, because we have something to celebrate, my friend.
Yeah.
Should we start by something? What do you fancy, starting with an American whiskey or with the Great King Street?
Yeah, let's start with the American.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're gonna go after somewhere else. And ABV wise, we're also, even if it doesn't say always something. So MICHTER'S distillery, beautiful distillery, which part of the production is too old to have come out of the new stills. So for those who don't know, it's a renewed distillery that did exist under several names back into the 18th century, but it has completely been renewed in the 1990s. I had the chance to try some of the rare stuff when they were looking for a French importer, so I helped out a bit the director to find ways to get distributed here. So I came across some nice samples, have to say. This one is the Unblended American whiskey. I have to explain to people what is an American whiskey. Sometimes when it's written American whiskey, it can be something that has neutral spirit added. So it doesn't have the right to be called a bourbon. But in this case, it's a different story. It's because what they say, and I asked the owner about it, they say it's aged in bourbon-soaked white oak casks. So that means refill bourbon cask, in fact, which is forbidden for the bourbon category. So that's why they cannot call it American, bourbon. Let me show it a bit more. There you go. But the interesting thing, even if it's undisclosed, it mixes rye, it mixes barley, unmalted barley, and mixes corn. I don't know if there's a bit of wheat in there. It's a bit secret. But I think it's a great introductory to American whiskey. Let's pour a bit of that. And I like the packaging. I don't know you, Toby.
Yeah, no, I think the bottle design's quite good, and the label. I got my sample from Anthony at New Dram Drinker.
Okay. Mine is from, for the geeks out there, I haven't noted down, but I think it's here somewhere. Mine is L100, no, L15D324, and it's for 2017. It's 41.7 ABV. I've been told it's a 4+ years old. I don't have the price point here, but it was around 50 euros here. I don't know.
£50 in the UK.
It is natural color, as for many bourbons, or
got a good color to it.
Yeah. So is everybody in the chat having also this? Yeah, I agree. Hi, MC Drummer. I think those two are wonderful as a starter. Okay, Menno struggles to find some. Okay. Well, as soon as you have an age statement, I have to say, it becomes much more expensive. Oh, we have a question for you from Anthony and Nikki.
Yeah, it's funny because Luna asked the same. I think if people found it interesting, then I might well do it again this year.
Can you explain what it was?
What I did was I got my wife to go through all of my samples.
Oh yeah, I remember now.
And
but for those who don't know,
yeah, so all of my samples and all of my bottles that I've got, and pour 24 different samples, or obviously if they're already in sample bottles, then just cover them up. And yeah, basically it was a mystery advent calendar. So I had 24 different drams for 24 days in December, and I didn't know which was which. And sometimes I got it right, and sometimes I got it wrong. The problem is, when you mentally have an idea of what's in your collection, you're trying to guess based on what you think it is, rather than what's in the glass, and that takes over. So if I did it this year, I'd have to try and be, a lot more critical and evaluate the liquid a lot closer than just trying to.
I think it's also something that happened to some YouTubers that did the Roy Aquavite challenge, right? Because they were thinking, what does Roy has in his collection? And like Keith, for instance, it was funny to watch. And also it was something emotional and fun to see. From me, sorry, I come across maybe like an old veteran or soldier, but to see some people discover Brora through a blind test or Port Ellen is fun for me, because there's no, it's the beauty of the blind tasting anyway. I don't know if you agree. You have no prejudices, no preconceptions. You don't know what it is. If you like it, whether it's 30 euros or pounds or 10,000, you don't care. You like it or you don't like it, right? So it makes everything equal.
Yeah, and I think what blind tasting does is it levels the playing field, because I've done it before where you might have 3 from a particular distillery, and one might be the cheapest and one might be the most expensive. And you can easily be drawn to the cheapest just because it's based on smell and taste alone. Your preconceptions may be that one of those is expensive, so you may think, well, this tastes expensive, but you may have picked the cheapest, and the cheapest is aimed at the widest audience.
And I like the fact that I totally agree with you, and I push even further the thing, if I may say, saying that very maliciously Roy did put among those high-end 19th century or early 20th century whiskies. Sometimes some supermarket blend under 20 euros or pounds, and sometimes people say, "Oh, wow, that's good, that's good." So,
well, it's funny. I did a blind taste of the Johnny Walker core range, and I swore that Johnny Walker Red was Johnny Walker Black.
oh, interesting. But both are smoky, mind you.
Yeah, well, I thought Johnny Walker Black was the nastiest whiskey in the lineup. And
well, I think we might go back at some point to the blend question and the Johnny Walker question, because I know some guys in the chat are very sensitive about some blue label, but I have a special theory about that, so maybe we'll come. Well, I have a question from Anthony and Nikki. Personally and for your channel, so two different things. Well, if I can get some money, because it's not cheap, of course I would like to go to Campbeltown and Islay, because like David Brody said in my previous live, shame on you, Greg, because you didn't went there. So I don't know, did you went there, Toby, by the way?
No, I haven't.
So it's
Scotland. So I've been into whiskey. I visited Dublin, to pursue Irish whiskey, but I've not visited Scotland since I've been.
Yeah, so it's and then it's not cheap. You can
exactly. There's so much history and amazing liquid in Scotland. You can't fit it in once. You'll kick yourself if you miss something. So where do you start? It's multiple trips. Where do you go first?
Of course.
Where do you go second?
Plus, Islay is an island, right? So you have to take the boat. You have to follow the weather forecast. You also, it's small and very crowded, so you have got to find somewhere to sit, to sleep, etc. So
for shields on because it's popular and there's lots on, or do you go when it's quiet? There's so many questions.
Yeah, indeed, you heard Campbeltown, and Campbeltown is also on our table, my friend, and twice, as we will see later on. Yes, yeah. That's not a problem I have. I have to say, as I'm on my own.
Fortunately, I don't have that problem, even though I'm married. My wife is quite forgiving when I have ideas and plans and want to do things. So.
I like what Anthony or Nikki said, but I will need to win a lottery before that, right? Well, I would love to do that with you guys, of course. What does Luna says? More Dutch. Yeah. I have to confess, I'm ashamed I haven't tried some samples I have who are dating for 6 years now. I've been sent and offered even home 6 years ago and still haven't opened that Millstone rye with a high reputation. I don't know what happened. So yeah, Dutch whiskies, high reputation for some. I have 3 different distilleries samples to cover, but I have 200 samples, something like that. So maybe more. So where to start? Then about the channel, we'll speak later on, maybe on our goals for the channel. So yeah, what do you make of this, of the nose, Toby?
Yeah, it's quite sweet on the nose. Lots of vanilla, lots of brown sugar. There's a hint of cherry in there.
Yeah, lots of fruits.
But it's also there's a little bit of ethanol on the nose for me.
Well, less for me because I have this on some bourbons, honestly. Sometimes on the what was the name of this bourbon? Knob Creek.
Right.
So sometimes on some bourbons, yeah, there's some solventy thing. Yeah. Here I have some amazing floral notes, or maybe because me, I'm more sensitive to floral notes. I don't know. I don't see it often mentioned about American whiskies from the United States, but for instance, Weller, for me, there's some kind of violety note that's very appealing, and often nobody even mentions it. So I said, is it me or?
Well, through the power of persuasion, I'm picking that up now.
Heady flowers, some heady flowers.
Definitely.
But maybe this is mixed with some tricky note for me, maple syrup, maple wood.
Yeah, definitely get that. There's quite a lot of charred oak on the nose as well.
Yeah, this reminds me a bit of this one, which was a gift. By the way, I'm going to launch a call tonight, and I'm happy Menno's here. I'm a bit worried about a whiskey fan who's in Belgium. He was supporting the channel under the name G to the M, Guillaume. He offered me this for the channel, this beautiful MGP, but MGP can do beautiful things. And I have no news for a few months. It was not in a good shape with the last time I had news. So I'm sensing something happen. I hope I'm wrong, but if anybody in the chat, I will give this call, please. If anybody in the chat has news from Guillaume from Belgium, G to the M is its user's name in the many YouTube channels. Please give me some news, because it doesn't answer. We're almost friends and he doesn't answer. So he had some hard times before the COVID even. I don't want to be too personal about him, so I don't want to embarrass him, but I know there's some things that are not going well, but I hope he's okay. Just let me know if you know him. Okay, I stop with that. Another question.
Yeah, I can definitely answer that one.
Yeah, go ahead.
My whiskey budget has definitely gone up during lockdown. The problem is you're at home, more often.
Yes.
And, you've got more time to search out those whiskey deals. Fortunately, I'm quite good at hunting down deals, so I don't normally pay more than something is worth. So I'm always buying it when it's on offer.
And as long as there's delivery, right? Working.
Yes, fortunately, we can get stuff delivered.
Thanks.
Quickly from lots of.
Though I'm very disappointed that after Master of Malt said it last year, now it's the turn to Whiskey Exchange to say we don't deliver friends anymore for some time. Ugh. Because for me, there's a friendly, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, guys. Belgian and German option, often the most interesting financially, but for some very special stuff. For instance, the Weiser's dissertation, I had it at a very good price at Whiskey Exchange. Now it's gone. It's over. And also, I love what Elixir Distillers does. Whether it's Single Malt of Scotland, Elements of Islay, Porter's-Cake, etc. And for some of these references, it's going to be hard to get some now. Okay. Somebody's ahead of our journey tonight because he has a high-end and quite aged whiskey. So Skull or Slangeva, Frederick. We have modestly a bit of American whiskey on board. Again, for those joining only now, we're sharing with Toby a dram of the American whiskey, Unblended American whiskey, it's the name. And small batch, mind you, is used for all the US 1 range, where it comes from. And yeah, they are also, for those who don't know, hi, Radek. Yeah, interesting. Good to know. Good to know. Yeah, we'll see next year.
It's a lot of German. Yeah. A lot of German online retailers won't deliver to the UK. And a lot of them won't deliver outside Germany or Austria. They're
There
quite
you go.
restrictive for some reason. But,
what do you think of the palette? I love it.
yeah, it's really nice.
Everything we said is gathered together now, right? The oak, the spices, everything but the flowers, maybe the maple, the bourbon, obviously.
It's also quite viscous as well.
Sorry?
It's quite viscous.
Yeah. Nice viscosity. I don't know
Nice mouthfeel.
if people can see.
It's interesting that it's 41.7% though. That's an interesting ABV they settled on.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, because there's a whole article on my website about it, as I got along with the director and also the producer, master distiller I met last year in Paris. So I had quite some information. They do something very differently from other distilleries. That is, they cask the distillate lower than 54%, often at 53% ABV. And then they use heat cycles, like they say, by cycles of heating and non-heating. The warehouses, they kind of rush or accelerate the aging.
Right.
And another thing. And the last thing, they use some kind of sweet filtration, which is like we could say in Europe, barrier filtered, which is some kind of, it's hard to say, I know in French, but in English it's difficult. Some kinds of very thin, like papers, trapped into like coffee filters, but bigger and squarish. There's a dozen, several meters sometimes, like that, and the liquid passes very quickly in there, or not quickly, depends of the method. We may speak about other kind of whiskies, but for them, it's something that's very close to what we say here, sweet filtration. So I think this lets a lot of fats and oils and congeners work their way and give us all these beautiful flavors. I don't know if you agree.
Yeah, no, it's really good.
I don't know if someone else had it on the chat. Oh, so this is different. Good question. So we'll group that with a Tennessee whiskey. Charcoal, mellowing. No, not charcoal filtering, but it's the same, the result, I think.
Process, isn't it?
Yeah, Lincoln County process. It's something that was used by Jack Daniels and George Dickel distilleries mainly to find a way of presenting bourbon differently. So we do say here in Europe, it's not bourbon, it's Tennessee whiskey, but the E doesn't pronounce, by the way, it's whiskey. But when you speak with some YouTubers, American YouTubers, they mostly say it is bourbon, but with the Lincoln County process. Basically, there is some, I don't know how to explain that, but maybe you can explain that better than me. But there's some kind of big vat.
I think Jack Daniels drip theirs through charcoal, layers of charcoal.
Yeah, 3 meters.
Yeah, whereas George Dickel soak it in charcoal.
Yeah, maybe. I you know that better than me.
Yeah, so charcoal basically filters and softens the distillate.
Yeah, at the same time.
Yeah.
And so Jack Daniels is typically something that's mellowed by the charcoal filtering. And also they have the Gentleman Jack that's double passed into that process, so even sweeter, right? I don't know if it answers the question.
I don't know what George Dickel use as their charcoal, but I know Jack Daniels use sugar maple.
Oh, that's why it's so much maple notes in there.
And they soak it in their distillate before setting light to it and turn it into charcoal. So
there you go.
Yeah.
But I have to say there's several other brands that have strong maple notes in there, US and Canada wise.
Yeah. I
And,
wonder if that's the American white oak that gives it that.
well, maybe
vanillins in the oak.
Yeah, vanilla, vanilla and sweet spices.
Mm.
But all the floral and maple, no, I think
Yeah, I
it's
don't know where the floral comes from.
from the other casks. Okay, shall we move on after some to the Gretkin Street? Has everyone has home the Gretkin Street? And by the way, Toby, with the thing I sent you yesterday, because I had it,
Yeah,
I had to remove it.
I printed off a little one.
Oh, fantastic!
A little one for reference.
You can see the two experimental batches, the Shared in red and the peated that I have in blue.
Yeah.
And the result made it the Glasgow blend 1 year later.
Yeah, that's really
and I forgot to put it on my table, sorry. But I send you the picture. So has everyone, Luna has that Gretkin Street. Anyone else? So Luna, if you want to come along on board with us and share your thoughts about Gretkin Street, let me see if I can put it back. Yep, in the come up. There you go, Luna, if you like. And some people after maybe. I'm also expecting another guest who hasn't confirmed, so I have to wait a bit. And also we have a lot of questions for now for Toby left. So what was the question about the, I missed a question about Gretkin Street. Bottle your own, no, it's a question. I don't know if it's for me. I saw a question. No, they don't put maple wood in the spirit. It's, how can we say that? There are some expression aged in maple oak cask. It's in maple cask, sorry, but this is not what we're talking about. They're charring the maple oak to do this charcoal, right? That's what you were saying, Toby, I think.
Yes, it's just for them to filter before they put it into the casks.
Voila. Menno speaks English better than me, so crates, wooden crates. There you go. Thank you, Menno. So yeah, in case it was I didn't get the question. I have the first release of Gretkin Street, which features the painter's palette in there, while I think if you can maybe show it, Toby, maybe, where is the comment? I have to withdraw. The problem with the highlighting is that you have to, hide. Can we show side by side, Toby, our Gretkin Street, so people see the difference?
Is my camera frozen?
Oh yeah.
Let me just.
I was wondering. Yeah. Well, Toby will come back. I think he's okay now.
Is that working now?
Yeah. So here's mine.
Oh.
And yeah, so they put the name Artist Blends bigger, and they dropped the palette. Yeah, they dropped the palette. And also the windows are clearer in yours. And the building is bigger. Do you have the 70? Yeah.
Yeah, mine's the 70.
Oh, and you have round and fruity, which is not written in there. Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, it comes on 50 CL most of the time for us malt mates, and 70 CL at the beginning. It was only for bartenders and so. And then I saw it appear on La Maison du Whisky, but it's not sold in supermarket, and many cavist is retailer, don't have it in 70. But as you said in your video, and yeah, again, if we can share some link. Usually it's something we do at the end, but I'm gonna do it now. I don't think you're gonna be against that, Toby. I'm gonna just drop a link to your channel, as you recently covered. Let me do that. So please, people, go check out Toby's channel, which is Whiskey Shared, and have a look at his reviews, very nice reviews of different compass boxes, and especially the two main expressions called Great King Street. And
yeah, so this is because Luna's just asked, this is the unpeated version.
Yeah.
Glasgow Blend is the peated version. So
there you go. And there are, like I said, even rarer expressions. I have one. I haven't even made the review, just a few lines on my website, and I haven't even opened the bottle. So of a peated version that existed before the Glasgow blend, right? But yeah, so cheers, everyone. Thanks for coming back, and happy birthday again, Toby.
Yeah, and you.
Thank you. So can we say one of the most popular compass box, in your opinion?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's,
yeah.
There's a handful of compass boxes which are classed as their mainstream releases. Spice Tree is one, the two Great King Streets, and the Peat Monster.
Yeah, there you go.
They're the most popular.
But me, on the core range, I almost prefer to anyone else the Oak Cross, which was a project, which was a bit of a not a prequel, but very close to the Spice Tree recipe, with the heads, which were new oak, but a bit charred. But for me, it's a more convincing recipe than the Spice Tree, but it's personal.
Yeah.
But yeah, also we have to say, for those who don't know this reference, it's 50% malt at least, where usually blended whiskies in Scotland are, let's not talk of the high-end ones, but the most common are 70% grain and 25% malt. And here we're the double of malt. So I think it shows also more character. It's non-chill filtered, non-colored, even if it's 43%.
Yeah.
I think it still delivers.
And obviously one thing that the whiskey maker has to do is every time they release a new batch, they have to play with that recipe ever so slightly, because the stocks that they get,
sources,
will change. So they still have to try and make the same flavor profile. So you may get a little bit more malt or a little bit less malt, or you may get more.
No. I know John maintains the 50%, but he can switch distillery from another, as long as the profile is almost the same. But what John does is more complicated and more risky than the bigger names, Ballantyne, Johnny Walker, etc., because it's still some kind of craft blending. Sorry. So we're talking about. It was a time, I don't know the numbers now, but there were only 10,000 bottles per year of the total of what he was doing. Now I know it's more. I don't know how much, but when they have limited editions, then he can choose other distilleries. But well, I think people know the story. I don't know. I have a special relationship with Compass Box and John, but basically the strength he has when he decided to go into independent bottling is he worked for Diageo. So that great relationship he has with them helped him to build a stock of the single malts and single grains. And recently there is a share of in Compass Box, I don't know, and I forgot my English again. There's another company that owns 10% of, and it's Dewar's, Bacardi. So this John explained to me that this for him allows him to have another 5 more distilleries to put in the mix if he needs it.
Right.
But curiously, since they did that a few years ago, while you were seeing the recipes of the whiskeys that you can check out, by the way, guys, on their, like you said, very well, very nice reviews, by the way, Toby, of those Great King Street and Spice Tree. They are for transparency, and they share the recipes online. So you can download a fact sheet with everything that's in there. They cannot state the age because the Scotch Whisky Association forbids them. But if you ask them by mail, they can answer.
Yeah, also, they obviously don't disclose every single distillery that goes into it. So they must have
most of them.
Yeah, so they must have certain, contractual obligations to keep them secret.
You can be sure in many of them, not all, you will often find this, which makes a connection in our choice as well, right?
Yeah, there's plenty of that in this blend we're drinking now.
It's his favorite distillery, but you know all that, guys.
Yeah.
So on the nose, lots of things. Like we said, we'll have some citrus fruit, to have some spices, sweet spices, some flowers. And then you're on the palate, right? So
you definitely pick up the waxiness from the CLYNELISH.
Yeah, and I will say, and I'm glad I heard recently Michael Jackson said that. I didn't knew it. For me, it's mustardy. CLYNELISH is mustardy. It's a synonym of mustardy and of a wildcat for me. And then I discovered that there was a wildcat on the printing behind the. So yeah, it's very singular distillery, very characterful, and that's why I think he uses it. But you see more and more Tininic, which is another Diageo distillery, Northern Highlands distillery. And people don't know that because it's an expression. Again, sorry to play the old guy. John tried at some point to recreate an equivalent of Brora while making an expression that was in a core range but do not exist now. It was called Eleuthera, which means it's from Greek eleftheria, which means freedom. And this was highly CLYNELISH driven. And for some limited editions, I have one, it was very close to a Brora profile, an old Brora profile. So yeah, this is a love story between John and CLYNELISH, because CLYNELISH Brora is very tight as well. But okay, so yeah, what do you think on the chat about this Great King Street?
I haven't found anybody so far that's had a bad word to say about it.
Yeah, me too.
Everybody I know that's tried it has said it's one that is really quite pleasant.
Yeah. Oh, good to see Eric there. Thank you very much. We know the time schedule with the United States and Philadelphia might be tricky, so thanks for popping in. And if I can later on or tomorrow, I don't remember, you will be live. If I can, I'll pop out in the chat as well. Thank you, mate. And I think he loves Compass Box as well, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if you know, Malt Muser is a channel, a YouTube channel from the United States. I recommend you guys check it out as well. The spice still comes in. Also, my bottle is now not very full. I will have to search for another one, but
I also right at the end I get a slight tropical note.
Very tiny though, I think.
Yeah.
I would love to try this at cask strength, honestly, just to see what's going on.
Maybe you should send an email to John and see if he can send you a sample.
By the way, yeah, I don't have it on the table, but I just tried yesterday the Felicitas sample he sent me. He sent me this after I should have it for a Zoom tasting, but it was too late. But I'm going to review it. It's very nice. It's an older version of the hedonism with some content over 19 years old. So, sorry, very nice. Yeah, we're not going to make a special Compass Box, but yeah, for those who don't know, John Glaser, the founder of Compass Box, started in year 2000 by breaking the rules with doing a blended grain Scotch whiskey, which has never been done before per se. Grains were blended for blended whiskey mixed with single malts, but not by themselves. And it's the first guy who did that in UK. And this guy is not even from UK. Originally, he's from Minnesota, United States. So it's a funny story to see how things go. The American oak, which is highlighted there, by the way, in the hedonism. So, and even the spice tree. I don't know if you agree. At times when I try the spice tree, even if I have a special cask strength edition that I prefer to the regular, there's something really shouting bourbon there, right? Yeah, because of the cinnamon, the cloves.
There's definitely a bourbon note in there. I get it more on the nose than the palate, though.
And I see that, I don't know if you agree, in Bimber as well, the Richard one, which for me was doing a bridge a bit too much for my taste. But
I did the Richard in a blind tasting with Aquavite, and I thought the Bimber was an American whiskey.
We got a question. I don't have a sample. I don't know if I'm gonna have one. By what I heard, I don't have my notes here. It's a bit remote, but later on I can tell you, because he spoke about that in the John spoke about that in the Zoom last month. It's major, for the major part, it's Talisker. 50% or more, 70, I don't remember. And there's also some Ardbeg in there, so it's quite, I think it's stronger and more complex probably than the Pit Monster, the regular one. But I haven't tried it, so. And to answer, it depends on the price also, because sometimes, as much as I love and support Compass Box, I often, these last years, think their limited editions are often too expensive. But
yeah, if the price is right, I'd probably buy a bottle.
Yeah, because my Pit Monster is getting very low. So, yeah, Arcana is the name, of the limited edition for a 20th anniversary. There was something very funny, but I think, I don't know. Let me check it. Just a minute. Sorry, I don't know if I. I let you 1 second, Toby, to answer to the chat. I'm going to check something about Compass Box, and
Well, looking at this, the new Peat Monster is £75 in the UK. So that probably is pushing, what's acceptable compared to their other blends. But I don't know how limited that is. Do you have any idea of the size of the run?
No. Oh my God. There's something exceptional on La Maison du Whisky catalog. No, I can't believe it's the same whiskey. Did he recreated it? Whoa. Okay, I can announce you a novelty which is called Magic Cask. I tasted the first release, which was completely different because the linkwood was in the center of the whiskey. But now it's the Imperial. Imperial is a closed distillery and very characterful, very citrusy. So 185 euros, it's very high. It's one of the novelties for the 20th anniversary of Compass Box. And the other, I'm checking out quickly, not to give you wrong information. Okay, there's Rogue's Banquet, 230 euros. No, I can't. And, okay. They don't, sorry guys, I made you lose a bit of your time. They don't have it. Okay, never mind. But I was thinking of a special edition he did, John Glazer created for 2020. And guess how it's called? Previously he did This Is Not a Luxury Whiskey. And now he did This Is Not a Festival Whiskey. Because many festivals were closed. But I think it's a high-end and very expensive, probably UK market or something like that, I don't know. So we have also Jim on board. So he's at work. Hi, Jim. Thank you very much. Thank you for your nice wishes. I hope you're well and have a great work.
Interestingly, I just looked at the specifications on the Arcana. And
you have it?
It's 73% Talisker.
Oh, there you go.
It's 10% Milton Duff. It's 6.9% Ardbeg. And almost 10% Peat Monster cask strength.
Aha, which I had an end of sample that I haven't covered yet. Had a lot of sample late from Compass Box, I'm sorry.
But obviously the thing I like about the Compass Box specification sheets is not only do they tell you what goes in it, they tell you what barrel they put it in as well. So they tell you the barrel influence from each of those.
It's getting more and more important.
Yeah,
exactly. And
they tell you the flavors to expect from each of those, which is really nice.
And he likes a lot Richard cask.
Yeah,
so
there's plenty of Richard on this.
To disclose, so might be not my friend, but I don't know. We'll see. I Toby, I don't like when the cask is too much influencing the.
Yeah, we've had this conversation before, haven't we?
Unless it's for the best, that the cask is exceptional and gives the best of it, and did go along with the distillate. Otherwise, I'm a bit like Chris Goodrum. I don't know if you know an excellent channel, Chris Goodrum, who's also have it's a bit of a particular case because he's selling whiskies, and he's also a YouTuber. In Nottingham, he has a Gauntlets of Nottingham. It's the name of the shop. But he does long reviews where he analyzes whole sets of whiskies, often half an hour or more. So I guess less guilty. I feel less guilty when I do my long videos. But basically, he has the honesty to say he does these reviews because he enjoys whiskey, but also to sell some stuff. he has samples and presents them to the audience, hoping there will be sales after that. But beyond this, you can feel his love for whiskey and also his experience. He was part of the Malt Maniacs with Serge Valentin and a lot of others, so he's not a newbie. And he knows exactly what's going on when he tries something. Then after, like I say often, and like a beautiful video from Ralphie stated very well, the best critic, the best reviewer is yourself, because it's about your taste, right? So we can say, me and you, Toby, and everyone, and even Ralphie, we can say this whiskey is superb. You have to try it. But if it doesn't fit with the listeners, viewers' taste, what's the point?
Exactly. You know, if you don't like peated whiskey, for example, and
there you go.
somebody's banging on about it, it's not going to make you like it anymore, is it?
Yeah, and for instance, Chris doesn't like a lot heavily sherried whiskies, so he often beats them down unless he feels the distillate is respected. So it's a crossing line. You don't know if you're gonna diss something because it's only sherried, or. But it's interesting because it has so much experience that it comes across his reviews, and I'd like to have him on my channel. I'm working for that because I have a lot of experience to share, honestly. Okay, shall we move to another dram now? On my list, you can imagine, Toby, I sorted them by the temperament. I don't know if you feel like doing them all or some of them, so you let me know.
Yeah, I don't mind.
If we switch to the Glenfiddich, or if we pass the Glenfiddich, or we go straight to the CLYNELISH. I don't know what you feel.
I think the CLYNELISH would probably work well next because there is a connection with the previous dram.
There you go.
So maybe we'll go CLYNELISH.
So I think there are probably a lot of people in the chat that has a CLYNELISH, right?
Yeah, it's very popular.
14 years old, official, colored and chill filtered, whatever you think, guys, and 46%. And I have a bottle in advance. Sorry?
It's a good value dram.
Oh yeah.
And it's very consistent.
Then, of course, I will add on my side that if you come across independent bottling of CLYNELISH, then you can go to something really, really amazing and sometimes outstanding, such as, and you need to get a sample of that probably, Toby. This beautiful 15 years old refilled sherry cask I got from the Whiskey Exchange a lot of time ago. 54% ABV, 2016 bottling.
I've had a signatory 22-year-old CLYNELISH. That was very good.
32?
22.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was very good. Very nice.
Yeah, I'm not telling you what I had because people are going to say, come on, stop it. Yeah, but yeah, this is a beautiful distillery, and I still have a wee sample. I don't know if we're going to share it because it's 2 CL of a 37 years old. But who knows? You know, my best whiskeys often, I don't drink them alone. It's all about sharing. I'm trying to pass on what a great collector friend of mine did with me a long time ago, and not so far ago, because I like to see some smile on the face and also share thoughts about.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to experience it alone. You want feedback of, you know, what other people smell and taste and how it makes them feel.
Okay, lots of things in the chat. You mean the
Gordon
this one?
MacPhail?
Oh, the Gordon MacPhail is a 15 years old from 2016. Jim.
Unless he means your CLYNELISH 14.
Oh,
is that an old one?
This one is from 2010, Jim. Then, if it's the question, let me know.
Because they've changed. Mine isn't even the latest one. They've changed it again.
Oh, you have the bottle to show if it's
Yeah.
if it looks like.
So they changed the bottle design earlier this year.
Oh,
so
okay, and it looks like more like before. It's funny, like the flora and fauna, which was amazing, guys. The flora and fauna was absolutely crazy stuff. And also Gordon MacPhail drum takers with the. I had to resell the bottle. It's a crazy story, but not flip, but sell to a good friend because I need money. Yeah, lots of things to say. Lots of Murray McDavid in the past, signature vintage, the Preston Field range. Which is often the older expressions, 30 plus years old. Lots of CLYNELISHs are probably tasted, 100 ones, I don't know. But lots of good stuff. Yeah, different label. Hi to everybody's coming in now. Alan. We have two Allens. We have Johnny. And yeah, the 14. So yeah, we probably good question. Very good question. And the answer is I don't know, or both. No, I would say refill sherry. Refill sherry fits very well with CLYNELISH and with a lot of distilleries.
No, I don't have enough experience with CLYNELISH to make a comment on that.
But bourbon can go very good, and the strength of good bourbon cask is so high that some Karizawa, the Japanese closed distillery, which is known for the sherry bombs, I had the chance to try a couple of bourbon casks, 30 plus years old, etc. And I was amazed how good it was, though no sherry in there. So there's never, I would say there's no, all bourbons are good, all sherries are good. I cannot say that, so, but it's a good question. Some people get specialized in sherry bombs. They only collect sherry bombs. Some other prefer bourbons. Where was the question? If you see other questions, Toby, don't hesitate to answer. We are already 1 hour, so yeah. Okay, so we're gonna try this CLYNELISH now and see how it goes. Yeah. I cannot taste with headphones. There you go.
I get shortbread biscuit. I get that waxiness.
Yeah.
There's fruitiness like apples, maybe even a hint of citrus.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
It's really nice. It's a whiskey I could just sit there for half an hour and just smell.
You get some honey as well, some warm honey, and it's a tamed CLYNELISH for me because it's a big batch.
Yeah.
So the distillery character still shines, but not so much as on the single casks and small batches from the independent bottlers. But it's a polished CLYNELISH for me. Very polished, but still very good. Also, like you said, Toby, very good value. I had mine at 35 euros. I don't know. Probably the bottle in advance I bought a few years ago was higher, 40, 45. I don't know how much it in
Yeah,
UK.
in the UK, you can normally find it for about £42.
Ooh,
So
okay, makes
that,
more than 50 here.
yeah, so that's how
Well,
much it is.
Welsh Toro is there. Hi, Greg and the gang. I like it. And Paul is there. I missed Paul. Yeah, Whiskey Alan says, me too. Bear in mind, me too. And I saw your video. I didn't have time to comment because it was late, Alan, but I enjoyed your video about the Kilkerran, the range, and also the work in progress. You have almost all the range. Go check out the Whiskey Friend channel with that Kilkerran video, guys. I knew I had the chance to try them all, but I didn't have the idea, because I'm to buy everyone, because there was a time I wasn't thinking this one will disappear. Take it if you like it, and later on I regret it. But you cannot live with regrets, right? So I grab things that people don't have, and they grab things I don't have. And when we meet with other people, sometimes we share what we have, and that's it. You cannot have everything.
No.
Okay, on the palate now. Me, I have the wild herbs again, and that mustard side, even in the nose. The slight bitterness coming in with some gentian on the background. I don't know if you get it.
Yeah.
But it's still okay, because there's some barley sugar helping out.
Definitely.
to keep a balance, right?
Yeah. I love the waxiness though. It is like, beeswax candles or crayons.
I'm with you, but again, sorry, if you could try the 30 years old plus CLYNELISH, that wax, you will have it even more. Ooh.
So where do you know where the waxiness might come from in the spirit?
We had. You have to check out Aquavite video with. Was it Nick Morgan? I don't remember. He had a guest who worked for Diageo, and he explained. So you didn't heard that story? This is a crazy story.
No, I don't think so.
There were at the time, I don't know which time was it, in the 90s or before. They closed the distillery for entretien in French, for cleaning.
Right.
Don't know if it was in winter or never mind.
Yeah.
And they opened the stills, the line arm, and they found there were a lot of unpleasant, greasy, and I don't know, cobwebs and all that stuff. A lot of old things and sediments of different things. You don't know what it is. They cleaned that. They run the distillate. They did redistillate, and the first run was completely different than the CLYNELISH we know. No wax, nothing. And they said, okay, we shouldn't have cleaned the stills. and there they suppose, it's always a bit behind legends, there's marketing sometimes, but this is what the guy said from Diageo to Roy in a live he did. I don't remember when. If you guys in the chat remember which video was it, but he did say that, and I heard it also in Mark Gillespie live from other guys from Diageo. So I don't know if it's true, but this is the official explanation why it is so waxy. But other distilleries have waxy whiskies.
Yeah, no, I have picked up the waxy note on some others, but this is obviously one of their signature.
Oh, it was Charlie. Yeah, right. Sorry, it was Charles McLean, Lean, by the way. Exactly. Thank you, Luna. It's for the guys who want to check out. It's the Aquavite
I do
YouTube
remember
channel.
watching that, but I clearly wasn't paying attention at that point.
Well, lots of things were said. The 3 hours or 2, I don't know. So yeah, but you have also. Oh man, I have to. Sorry, I have to see if I have the dictionary. It's so painful when you think you are not so bad in English, but you are bad actually, because there's some expressions. Okay. Well, I found it. No, I have to look for wax in the dictionary to tell you exactly my thoughts. Well, I'll find it. Okay. I apologize, guys. Let me. Okay, parquet. Do you use parquet in English, Toby, or
only for
wooden
flooring.
floor?
Yeah.
Wooden floor?
Yeah, we have parquet flooring, yeah.
Okay, because in the early 80s, let's say 70s to the 90s, Macallan, there was a very strong note that I hated to start with, and progressively I get used to it. That is totally gone now. And it was waxed wooden floor note.
Right.
Very precise, very strong. And it was something difficult for many people. And stuff. And this is completely gone. Also, tasting a lot of close distillery, Glenurry Royal, which is one of my favorite, or Banff, even some Glenmore. You had some wax notes sometimes, but not as strong as this wooden waxed wooden floor. There were typical, let's say, from the 70s, 90s, from heavily sherried whiskies, Glenfarclas, Macallan, and sometimes some old Glen Grants as well. But this is completely changed now. The profile of the whiskies has completely changed.
Well,
and for me,
yeah, I was going to say Macallan now they've got a new distillery. It must be difficult for them to maintain their flavor profile from one distillery to the next.
Yeah, first off. Second, before even opening this distillery, the profile changed almost completely. So I was a bit disappointed. When they launched the Fine Oak, it was already for me the beginning of the end, the Fine Oak range. Because I had the 18 and the 12, and these are good whiskey for themselves. But for me, just don't call them Macallan, because I knew Macallan before. No, for me, like I said in a video, Cavallan Sherry Cask Matured and Cavallan Sherry Solist is closer to the Macallan I knew 30 years ago than the current Macallan. It's my opinion, but I'm sticking to it. Cheers, Alan. See you next. Oh, interesting. So the world is small. Okay, so lovely expression, and let's say a good compromise between expensive high-end Clynelishes and sometimes some 9-8 years old, very average indie Clynelishes, low shelf, let's say.
Well, one thing I find is Diageo are quite good with their single malts at putting decent ages on them. You know, they're not afraid to put decent age stock in their whiskey.
Yes or no? Because, for instance, and this is a bad example, Clynelich, my friend, they did some special releases of Clynelich. I don't know if you've seen that a few years ago. And I tasted one that in my opinion, wasn't easy to sell, and that's why they they put that into the lineup. I won't mention the shop, but it's on my website. And I tried a special release with no age statement, Toby, and I learned there was 10 to 20 years old stuff in it. It was good, not much better than this. But with a no age statement, the price was around 700 euros. The price asked for this. So, no.
Yeah, not your average consumer.
Not even me. If I had this money, I won't buy this.
Yeah, you can justify.
Because in independent bottlings, I'm sure I can find some maybe 20 years old CLYNELISHs cheaper than that by independent bottlers. That would be much better. So, but it's hit or miss. Special releases are hit or miss. I haven't tried them all. I haven't tried these recent years every single one that many have the chance to try. For this year, I heard there were some disappointment. Talisker, for some people, the Talisker 8, the new one, was much less interesting than the one I couldn't try, but Roy praises it, for instance.
Yeah, I tried last year's Talisker 8 special release, and that was fantastic.
So is it the golden tube, beautiful blue and golden?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that must be the good one.
Yeah, that was good. I haven't tried this year's one.
And also there was the Game of Thrones series. I don't know if they were really worth.
I've got the Game of Thrones CLYNELISH behind me.
And you
I've
like
not
it?
tried it. No, I've not tried it.
Okay,
it was cheap.
Okay.
I bought it when it was on sale. So
yeah, we have more infos, and that's true. Welsh Toro, I forgot to mention those distilleries. Now, not all, Lefroy is colored. Filtered, not always. The 18 and the lower are not chill filtered. But then, yeah. Okay, Whiskey Jason is there. If you want to pop in to chat with us and try some drum with us, you're more than welcome. I can put the link. And Luna, if you're ready as well. Shall I put again the invite? Oops. Okay, and we're gonna move. As I see, one of my potential guests didn't show up. Let me check if I have a. No, I don't have a private message, so I don't think Inca is gonna show up. But I want to have her in a special. Other spirits. I have other spirits there, but I don't know if you were prepared for it. So, but you have so many things we have to move on, right? Now the big thing. I think it's the time for this baby.
okay.
So I'm gonna show it full cam and then bring you back. For those who don't know it. So it's 16 years old. Cask strength, natural cask strength, Highland Park, and it's add to stream. Okay, and I have it's for those who don't know. It opens up like this. It's heavy. I had it around 115 euros when it was out. It's from the Valhalla collection, official bottling, the Thor, and it's 16 years old, bottles in 2012, natural cask strength, 52.1 ABV, 23,000 bottles. And this was the first one from the Valhalla collection. Then there was the, if I'm not mistaken, the Loki, which was, this one is bourbon and sherry. The Loki was, I think, if not mistaken, full sherried. Then there was Freya full bourbon, and then there was Odin. all these gods, and yeah, I put some parafilm because if you put that in the air here, we can have surprises evaporation wise. So it comes across in not opaque, but with some accidents in the. It's a bit greenish. The Freya was tainted in green glass. I hated it. And there's a sequel to it, which is the Fire edition and the Ice edition. And while this launch price was around 120 euros or so, the price of the sequel was around 250 and 400. And I had the chance to try them. I think the Fire was sherried, and no, the Fire was port finished, and the Ice may be sherried. I don't remember now. They were good, but nowhere near worth the price, in my opinion. In fact, at the same time I had this tasting, there was the what's the name? The tattoo something. Twisted Tattoo. Thank you.
Yeah, the 16.
Yeah, Rioja cask. Me, who always say I'm not crazy about red wine cask. Guess what? It was better than the two others and much cheaper. So, and again, this is some kind of things that I don't pour me often because it's I don't know, 700 or 1,000 euros now. So you have a sample of it, lucky you, but there are not many people that's gonna have a sample of this. I'm telling you. Okay, thank you, Frederick. Fire is the port one. No, Ice, bourbon, Fire, port. Okay. Yeah, yeah. So Frederick is not very happy, and I agree with him. Okay, Pithead has to leave. Bye-bye. There you go. I was about to propose you. I don't know if you have it. Doug is on point. The full volume is now one of the best option, bourbon-driven, slightly peated, that still's there, that I really recommend. I have it somewhere there. It's a great option. It's not so far from this one, even if this one has some sherry cask in it.
Yeah, I can definitely pick up the sherry on the nose.
Oh, you see the smoke.
There's a sweet toffee in there as well.
Yeah, I see some loud oak. I don't know you. I sense, I smell.
It doesn't seem too oaky to me.
Okay, it has to open up a bit, honestly. It's in my bottle even is not so, it's still...
There's definitely a hint of like sea salt in there as well.
It's an interesting one. I believe it's the best one of the four for me, but many people prefer the Loki. Not much prefer the Freya, the third one. There's a complexity that is speaking to me. It's not immediately Heather Honey trademark old style Highland Park, I have to say. It's a modern one. Did you have the 18, by the way, Toby?
I have tried the 18, yeah.
A recent edition?
No, it was the last edition of the 18.
Before all that.
Yeah,
writing.
before. Yeah.
And did you like it?
Yeah, I did like it. Yeah.
You might find some differences there. Yeah, so I still have some honey in there. some, maybe some leather, maybe some waxiness as well. Or am I influenced by the previous one? Okay, let's try it. Maybe not. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oof. Comes across strong. I will quickly dilute it on my side. There's a strong oak in there. I don't know you, or if it's only me. And ginger, spices.
Yeah, it's got nice. That spiciness is quite nice. Definitely, there's a hint of heather in there as well.
Yeah,
That
maybe
sort of like...
slightly rubber note. I don't know.
Yeah, see, I normally don't like rubber in whiskey, and now you've mentioned it, I can pick it up, but it is really slight.
Yeah,
a tiny bit.
Well, you have more in some Bowmores. I'm gonna do a Bowmore rundown soon. You can find that rubber definitely in Bowmore, but you can have it also in younger whiskies. Loch Lomond.
On Lefroy.
Lefroy, Loch Lomond as well. Sometimes it's heavy at Loch Lomond. Ooh. Oh, I prefer with a few drops of water, but I don't want to influence you.
I must admit, it is quite drinkable. Neat.
It is.
Yeah. You just have to be careful with it.
Yeah, and also I don't drink it often, as you see. So maybe the third time after I've opened it. So, but keep some
the
to
sherry
try with
influence
water.
isn't overpowering. Yeah, it's not overpowering, the sherry.
I don't have Toby. I don't have the recipe. I know there's bourbon and sherry involved, but I don't know how this is going in the mix. Is it 40-60 like Springbank's 12-3? The variations in 12 years old Cask Springbank. I don't know.
Have you tried Dark Origins?
Yeah, but I didn't like it.
Yeah, that's heavily sherried.
Though I see it was too highly priced for me. But now I see it on the shelves of my supermarket and the price is getting lower, and I wonder if I'm not going to come back to it. And also I was put off because I don't like opaque bottles, especially when they're mate. When they're brilliant, like the full volume, it's beautiful. But when it's mate, like the Dark Origin, I don't like it. And also I was a bit put off and attracted at the same time by the Assassin's Creed style design of the, no, don't you agree? Of the Dark Origins was really a kind of unwanted tribute to Assassin's Creed for me. It's kind of making a metal whiskey in a way, but by the way, I saw a movie made after the game, and I was a bit shocked by the theme of the game. But we're not going to go into politics. But I was very surprised of the theme. It's kind of inverted values for me in there. Very weird. But let's not go into politics. Let me look a bit in the chat, guys. I hope you're well. If you don't have this one, the full volume is quieter than this one, I will say. I don't really find any equivalent. Yeah, they're also beautiful in the shelf. Alan says, I have an opening bottle problem. 95% of mine are open. Good. Congrats.
I used to have that problem. I used to open each bottle as I got it, because you open a bottle, you've never tried it before, you open it, you try it, you like it, you don't like it, or, you know, it's amazing, it's average, but you then buy another bottle, you open that one. And then the more open bottles you've got, the more the early ones get neglected and don't get finished.
Yes.
So you
That's
end up
why
with so many open bottles and you can't drink them quick enough. So I've started to rein that in a bit, be a bit more selective, and maybe finish one of my earlier bottles that I have open before I then open another one. Because when you've got, you know, 70, 80 bottles open, it just seems a bit ridiculous.
I won't say how many I have opened, my friend, but I have a friend who has 1,500. Sorry, my biggest collector friend. And I can't do what he does. He's a computer man. He has an application, let's say, with Excel tabs, in which he put all the collection, ranked by the moment of the day it is made for, in his opinion. And the computer basically tells him which one he hasn't tried for a long time and which one it's the turn to try today. And often I think, honestly, do you stick to it or do you want to change, switch to something else? Oh, most of the time I'm sticking to it. I don't believe it.
I must admit, I have started making a note of when I open bottles, because that way I can think, okay, which bottle probably needs finishing sooner, so I can then have a look and do that. But I don't have those dates for bottles that are, you know, that I bought first. It's only a new thing I've started doing to keep track of how long things have been open.
Okay, me, I'm kind of obliged to do that because I'm in the attic, and often, not now, but it's a bit cold, but during spring and summer there's a lot of heat there and the corks are breaking.
Right.
So I had to do this 2 times a year, switch, turn quarter or full to wet the cork. Well, I know we had this debate with the whiskey trials with Neil, to wet the cork in order to prevent it to break. But in case it breaks, I have maybe 100 used corks to replace according to the shape.
Yeah, I keep all mine.
Yeah, you guys keep your corks. It can be interesting.
The only cork I've ever had break was on a brand new bottle. But it's early days.
That leads us to some question I had for you, Toby.
Okay.
Maybe some traditional ones, excuse me in advance. Do you have a favorite whiskey profile? Or several ones?
Yeah, I think my favorite profile is your typical sort of Highland or Speyside, which is a bourbon finished or bourbon aged whiskey, which has those sort of typical sort of tropical papaya, pineapple sort of notes.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they're my most favorite. But you know, I'm starting to enjoy more peated whiskey. So even though I've not been put off by it, isn't a profile I reach for that often. But I'm finding that I reach for peated a bit more often than I used to now.
Have you tried the Glenlivet Nadura 16 years old?
No, I have a sample of it though.
I have a bottle, only one. I should have secured another one.
Yeah,
this is, I think, of what you're saying now, right up your alley, bourbon-wise.
Right.
I think lots of tropical fruits.
Yeah, love that note.
Well, those comes from what the estery components, right? So first fill bourbon, basically, and second fill bourbon give all that. And that's why we love Lafroig, because they push that profile as well. Not all the time, but some indie Lafroigs can be terrifically exotic, and I love that. And also, I have a sherry. Sherry PX. Wait a minute. I should have this in the end because it's Eric Waite's and I first. One of favorite. Let me show it here, maybe. Glen Murray 2010, 8 years old only, peated PX finish. Distillery bottling I had there, 55, my age today, 0.8. And it's heavily peated PX finish, and it's as estery, means / tropical, as peated, as sherried. And it's this crazy stuff. 95 out of 100 here. And Eric Waits is crazy about this one as well, I think. Guess what? I have managed to secure another one because I like it a lot. Well, have you added a few drops? I don't want to oblige you to anything.
Do you want me to try it with a few drops of water?
If you feel like it's your sample now, so I hope you still have just a few drops, and tell me how you feel like. Because I ate it and love it, but it's me. We're not all the same, right? Ooh, only 8 people watching now. People getting to sleep, or they
For me, that becomes more fruity.
And I got this heather honey more, right? Which is Highland Park trademark.
For me, that fruitiness is coming from the sherry, and as soon as that goes, then you get you definitely get the typical Highland Park character come through.
I agree. So slightly red fruit notes from the sherry, but it's on the back. But it's Highland Park.
Yeah, you can tell it, but you can tell it's Highland Park, which is really nice.
So you enjoy it?
Yeah, really, really good.
So you see, we're jumping a bit in character in the lineup. It's what I always trying to do in a tasting when people come visit me, and often I like it to be blind as well. So no prejudices, no and surprise. And sometimes you don't even know what's going on. And I like, and often I like to put some McMyra Brooks in the middle of the flight, so people see how good can be a non-Scottish, non-Irish, etc. whiskey.
Yeah, I do like McMyra Brooks whiskey,
but I have a lot of reservation on some of the ranges, especially the Moment range. That for me it's too expensive for what it is. I have to say.
It wasn't until recently I found out that the Brooks isn't single malt.
Yeah, I heard this.
I thought it was a single malt, but it isn't, because it comes from their 2 different distilleries.
Yeah, but
it comes from the Brooks distillery, and
I know the old and the new, but for me it's still a single malt, or I say double malt.
But yeah,
it's a bit weird.
But yeah, so they're not allowed to call it a single malt, but
I know that Angela, I met Angela, the master blender whiskey maker, and she explained that. It was a bit weird for me, but I can understand why they say that, and it makes sense in a way. It's a good whiskey anyway, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I like it.
We had the same problem in France with Edu Gold, which is a wheated whiskey, 100% wheated whiskey.
Right.
And I had on my channel a special list about spirits, very high level, much more than me, to be honest. And he explained me that technically it shouldn't be called whiskey because it's not a cereal. Wheat, buckwheat, sorry. It's the only, one of the rare whiskeys made using buckwheat, which is sarrasin blé noir in French. Black. In French, it comes out like black wheat, the name. And he explained me something I'm unable, I'm sorry, to rephrase here. Basically saying buckwheat is not a cereal like wheat. It's something else, another category. So I say, okay. But still it states whiskey on the label. So what can I say? Yeah, Swedish whiskey. I still have to do a live with my friend Frederick and maybe some other people to speak about Swedish whiskeys. I'm currently trying to write an article about some beautiful samples Frederick sent me. I also sent you a mail. You didn't check it, my friend. Please do it because I want one or two of those. And he knows what I'm talking about. And also we'll speak about a closed distillery, yes, but High Coast, which began his story being called Box. And then, alas, there was a lawyer's problem between Compass Box and Box, Swedish distillery, and they had to change their name. I asked both their arguments and what happened. They talked of different things on their side. It was difficult to be in between because I love both. But basically it was some kind of misunderstanding, and so it turned to a changed name at High Coast, and they're not the best friends of Compass Box. I understand that as well. It's life. High Coast, yeah, there's some I showed on my live mostly. I didn't cover them individually. 2 expressions under 40 euros here. There are no age statement, but a very nice whiskies, and I found the distillates, in my opinion, much more interesting than McMyra's one. Just saying. So check out High Coast Dalve or Timmer, which is peated, Have, which is a bit spicier, or others that you can ask recommendations from Frederick from Whiskey Pilgrim, and a Drum Divided, his new channel to be coming soon. Okay, so yeah, I had also a question, Toby. Do you have a favorite distillery? Bimber? No.
No, I don't think I have a favorite distillery as such. But I do have. You'll notice behind me all these Jameson bottles. I do have a love for Jameson, but not necessarily because they make the best whiskey. I think I like the story and everything that goes with Jameson.
And you visited it?
Yeah, I have visited it. Yeah, and I think because Jameson is such a affordable and reliable whiskey. I always use it at the start of a tasting because it sets up the palate with a flavor profile that you know very well, and that way you know if your palate is ready to taste whiskey.
Yeah, it can be
calibrate. You can calibrate
calibrate.
Yeah. So that's normally why I've got Jameson in the house. And like a lot of big distilleries, they're always doing something interesting, and most of their products aren't expensive. So it's one that I go back to again and again.
Well, I still have some samples to review from them. Some have been given by Billy Layton. We spoke about him back prior to that. I have the first, sorry for butchering the name, Der Galech, it's the name, edition with Irish oak. It's a high-end whiskey.
Middleton, isn't it?
Sorry?
Middleton one.
Yeah, Middleton. Yeah, because Middleton is a distillery, Jameson is a brand, and Middleton is also a brand mostly for higher. Yeah, interesting fact. Frederick explains. Yeah, you can read that. Yeah, they're high north. It's a tiny distillery. I think it's a smaller, much smaller one than McMyra. Sorry, with under 200, but it's expanding right now. I heard, and I met the people. They're very passionate people as well. So where Middleton, yeah. There's so many brands that, I mean, there's a green spot, all the color range, like yellow spot, red spot, and I'm still waiting for the blue spot.
Yeah, that's coming out soon.
Ah, okay. You have more information than me, but I was excited. 7-year-old. Was it Madeira or port? I think it was Madeira.
Yeah, I think it's Madeira. Yeah.
That's why it's interesting me.
Then you've got the Redbreast range.
Yeah, I have a 25 years old for La Maison du Whisky to cover, cask strength. I had the chance to try it twice before having the sample. It was a selection, I think 2016. Have also 16 years old, seems to be very popular. Old Sherry, it's the nickname. You know that one?
Yeah.
So it was in a fancy bag. I couldn't buy the bottle, but I helped out a friend who had the bottle in a ballot or something like that. I don't remember. And it grabbed it immediately. I think it was a Master of Malt exclusive. And because of me, he had the bottle, so I had a sample. Good deal. But I haven't tried it.
You've also got the Method of Madness range.
Yeah. It's a more experimental one. I haven't tried a lot, only 2. I don't like the single grain. I don't find it interesting and balanced. I like the single malt finish in weird chestnut barrels.
Yeah, I tried the single pot still as well, and I wasn't impressed with that.
Matter of taste, I guess.
Yeah,
like the Tilling,
some people might love it.
Yeah, like the Tilling single grain, I don't like it, and many love it because.
Yeah, I quite like the single grain.
For me, it's too much wine finish in there, but it's. I don't know. So yeah, you will answer then Middleton Distillery maybe as favorite distillery or not necessarily.
It might well be my favorite, but it isn't necessarily the best whiskies. They're very reliable, dependable, and affordable. But they do have some expensive ones too.
Also, yeah, I had other questions. I'm going to switch some because you kind of answered. If you had the magic wand, and I copied that a bit from New Dram Drinker last CO and then modified it. What would you change in the whiskey industry today?
What would I change? I would make more everyday expressions, at least 46%.
Interesting.
And non-chill filtered and uncoloured.
I knew it. Who's not going to say that?
I think there's so many whiskies that would benefit from it.
Oh my God.
But I think because some are so mainstream, they don't need to because people will continue to buy them regardless. But yeah, I do wish more could be, untouched and left, a bit more natural.
I don't know if you have the same fantasy as me. because it might be also the blender speaking there, amateur blender. I'd like really to see some of my favorite expressions, not necessarily straight from the cask because they're often blended, but let's say I'd like to try the vat, the final vat, let's say.
So vatting strength.
Yeah,
before it's watered down for the bottle.
Yeah, before caramel coloring, before reducing. For instance, I like to see how is the Lagavulin 16 at maybe 55 ABV, no chill filter, non-colored, probably more amazing than the 12, which is already beautiful. I like to see Glenfiddich 18, which many people don't like, but I love it. Have an old expression, that may be why, but I love to see Glenfiddich 18 natural cask strength, non-chill filtered and colored. I will be very curious to see how it tastes like. It will never happen. But you know, when you have tried some old cask, and thinking of Glenfiddich seriously, 1970s, 30 plus years old cask of Glenfiddich, which are unchill filtered, etc. You cannot watch at even the core range at the same manner you watched before trying them. Because when you try the 18, for instance, you have those beautiful honeysuckle notes from the 70s. They're coming in, they're in the back in the 18 and 21 as well. They're in the back, not only because of the ABV, but also because how the blending is made. But you kind of feel them, so you see there's a connection, like we saw with CLYNELISH and Great King Street. There's a connection between the core range and the old best casks, but you have to dig a bit too much for many people to find them.
Yeah, well, that's why a lot of people, when they're into their whiskey, you know, properly, experiment by picking different independent bottlings, because that's where you're going to get the untouched experience. But they don't necessarily, they don't have the same character. They have
because it's
underlying character, but they are not always the same, are they? They're not as
no, they can't, because
so,
for instance, Douglas Lang searches for singularity in the single cask or in their small batches, let's say, or twin casks, or they say it, that they're looking for singularity in the distillery, while Gordon MacPhail, for instance, search more for fidelity to the house style. There are generalities, there are exceptions to this, of course. Then Signatory is looking for something else. There's a profile of signature whiskies until a certain time, before they had a bottling hall and all the warehouses and things that comes with it. And after, the things are different. They have a way of also diluting whiskies and storing them that's not the same than other bottlers. It's more violent, more aggressive to me most of the time. It doesn't mean that Gordon are better than Signatory, but you have to search for certain profiles to say, okay, this fits more in a Gordon bottling than in a Signatory. It appears that, I
was going to say one distillery that is regarded for being pretty poor with their distillery bottlings is Jura, but yet their independent bottlings are raved about.
Yeah, but not always. I have to say, I tried a lot of independent bottlings. They're not all super interesting. The problem I had with Jura is that there is the owner's options. And even, we had a private conversation where I mentioned the oldest Dalmore I had. And I forgot to add that it was chill filtered and colored, though having 19th century casks in it. And for me, it kind of ruins the whole thing. on the paper, because you cannot have so old or genuine things, even if they are recast. If you add layers of aseptizing things, sanitizing in English, I think it's the word, how can you get something satisfying? And also in the recent years, they relied too much on oak, charred oak, also virgin oak, and wine casks. So even I came across bottles of 200 or 300 euros whiskey shows. I tried them, and the guys in the stand letting me understand it's a privilege to try this, and I tried, and yeah, okay, meh, like you say in English, it was meh. But and it couldn't make the list to my 15 exceptional whiskeys videos, but in my top 70 whiskeys that I have tried, among now almost 4,000 over the years, there is a Jura in that top 70, believe me or not, but it's a 40 years old expression for 10 years ago, maybe, 4 numbers. So it's an exception. This, however, one of my favorite expression that doesn't exist anymore is the superstition, and is not expensive. It was 40 euros or 50 euros. Superstition was a kind of a Springbank CV, Le Flot Quarter Cask, what else? Abuna. It was a kind of a symbolizing the house style of Jura, with cask from 8 to 20 years old, things like that. Some peated, some unpeated, some sherried, some bourbon. But it was very well made. Richard did a beautiful job for this expression. It was chill filtered, it was colored, but the first one, and I had a bottle, was a bottle at 45 ABV, which was very interesting. Now, then after, I have one for 33 ABV behind me up there. But I don't understand the current policy. I think you can rebrand a distillery 10,000 times. If the content is still boring, I don't know. I hope they will do something more interesting in the future, because it can be beautiful. I know it can be beautiful. That's all I can say about Jura. While we're talking about earlier on cheaper whiskies, I wanted to ask you a kind of a traditional question. What's your main advice you will say to someone and there's a lot of people, I think, in the, not necessarily in the chat, but maybe watching, who are newbies to whiskies. So do you have one advice or two for people just getting into whiskey? How should they pick their first bottles, or how should they, I don't know.
It's interesting, because obviously I did it the most bizarre way possible. I went for a Japanese whiskey, and they weren't cheap, and so that's probably not the best thing to do.
No, especially now you have a lot of fake whiskies.
Yeah,
fake Japanese. I mean, they're true whiskies, but they're not Japanese, but stated as Japanese.
Yeah, I think you need to try and find a fairly easygoing and inoffensive blend or single malt, maybe. But I think what will help the most is having the right glass. Starting off with the right glass, taking your time to nose it and pick out all the flavors that you can pick out, because I think for an inexperienced whiskey drinker, as soon as it hits your palate, that may be too much. So if you can
That's why you need water, guys.
Yeah, but if you take your time, you can.
Every time water. Before, between several sips, and after.
Is that Scottish water I
yeah,
spy?
It's Highland Springs.
Yeah.
Water. I buy from time to time.
we buy your water and you buy ours?
Well, it's the one of the rare I can't find in my big supermarket, the crazy one I often mentioning, in which the whiskey shelves are crazy. And also find the Speyside Glenlivet one, which I recommend as well. Also because the half bottles can be used to re-rack, if I may say, your whiskies when they're diminishing. Less air. It's a screw cap, so it's pretty reliable. You can also put some maybe paraffin if you don't trust the screw cap. But yeah, lots of things to say, lots of topics to cover. So, but yeah, it's a good advice, you say. So, and also don't think you have to mandatorily try everything, every country, every kind of.
Yeah, I think that's the trap you can fall into. You feel you have to try everything, but also I think if you actually do want to get into whiskey, you just have to be persistent, because you won't necessarily like it first time. And yeah, trying different whiskies with or without water, or even mixing them with something else, just so you can get that flavor and maybe reduce what you add with it, so the whiskey flavor increases.
And I will add what you were saying, even if I don't know them earlier on, I will recommend also, if you know by people who are a bit more connoisseur than you guys on whiskey, and they say this is a good one, go into a club where you will have not only, I guess, the samples, and for instance, Somerton Club or London Whiskey Club, of what I understand, they cover a large array of styles of whiskey, right? So you can have an idea without having to spend all your money in a bar or to buy big bottles. You can go to subscribe to one of those clubs, and you get to know a bit more before then building your own taste. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a good idea, because obviously, you buy a bottle of whiskey at £40. You like it, you don't like it. If you don't like it, you've wasted a lot of money. If you do like it, you then want to buy another bottle, and then that could be another 20, 30, £40. And the cost can spiral just to try new whiskies. And if you buy miniatures, if you go and buy miniatures, they can be expensive. But obviously, if you can find some like-minded friends that you can share samples with, it definitely saves money, and a club is a good place to start.
There you go. And also, but maybe not in France, maybe not now, SMWS can be a good option, but it's more expensive because you have to pay each evening where you're going to be invited to try the novelties. So I think it's a more demanding option, if I shall say. Shall we move on now? I see, well, reaching more than 2 hours, Toby. I don't know how you feel about it, comfortable or...
I'm all right for a bit. Yeah.
Okay. Shall we move on to our supposed last?
Is that the Glen Scotia?
Peated Glen Scotia Campbeltown Festival Malts 2019. The latest presential, if I may say, festival.
Yeah,
yeah, 2003 vintage. It's peated. It's rum from Guyana finish, but previously matured in refill American oak bourbon hogsheads. 9,500 bottles and 51.3 ABV. And I was happy because I think I rated it almost the same as Ralphie. I discovered that. We had almost the same rating, 90, 91, something like that, about this one. And I know it divided some people. Some don't like it. Some prefer the Tawny port and the Ruby port. I haven't tried the previous edition, which was a Ruby port. Like I said earlier on, I have a general sample from Luna of the Campbeltown Festival 2020 TAWNY Port 14. The ABV is a bit higher.
Yeah, so this will be the first time I've tried this.
It's the first time you're trying it?
Yeah, this one, yeah.
Oh, okay. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
So I guess some of you guys in the chat have it as well, right? So tell us your thoughts.
Well, Lee from Budget Drams, he had a sample, but he's finished it as well. So
okay. While Lee's there, he's speaking of his first bottle of non-Scotch. Yeah, it's something I know for newbies, people coming onto whiskey. It's like science fiction stuff for them. They don't know what are they talking about, because by law, I guess it's only in Germany and Netherlands, I think, that they're obliged to state that there's caramel coloring, right? That's why you see mit Farbenjustered in Dutch, I think, and mit Farbstoff, so mit Zuckercolor, which is very explicit, right? Sugar color. But in fact, it's caramel essence. So it's very concentrated and not really sugared. And it's only tiny percentage. But it shows a lot in blends because they put a lot of that in blends.
Unless you buy Jura or Dalmore, and then it's got lots.
For instance, but there's so many other brands that use it. So many. I think the list is around 50 or 70 brands or more. Just speaking about single malt.
Well, this has got a really strong fresh pineapple.
Yeah.
Really like fresh pineapple. I'm getting toffee or caramel.
Yeah, even a bit roasted pineapples, right? A bit barbecued, grilled. And some, I don't know if you agree, Toby, with that famous Campbeltown funk.
Yeah, there's definitely some in
there.
Yeah, there's definitely some.
So I don't know what's for you. For me, it's a kind of mix of on the paper unpleasant but kind of sexy diesel mixed with the kind of rubber and tar and smoky peat kind of things like that.
Yeah, that's a good description.
Kind of industrial almost, or an old garage. You know,
yeah, it reminds me of a petrol station forecourt.
There you go.
The fumes that you get when you're filling your car up with fuel.
Voila. I like that. But a parenthesis, my brother, I don't know who is there, but who is passionate about trains. When I was young, he was driving the train. He was allowed to drive a bit the trains, and he conducted me to visit a diesel-driven locomotive. And we went into the internal corridor, and also that locomotive is absolutely stunning looking. It's for those who are in the know, it's the CC 72,072. I don't know if that speaks to anyone. With a kind of arrow, a blue and white arrow. And the diesel smell inside it was absolutely, I loved it. So I don't know if this early memory led me to love Springbank but it's just an anecdote.
I also pick up like a cereal note on the nose.
Yeah, I agree. I don't have my notes here, so if kind of, and also slightly, and for me it's part of the funk, right? It's farmyard, slight farmyard in the second ground, or Not as pronounced as in Springbank.
No, it's not. It's not very pronounced.
No.
I also get a hint of aniseed.
Yeah, that is peat.
Mm.
The best of peat.
Let's have a sip.
Yeah, cheers. Mm. Oh, I love it. Isn't it great?
The sweetness really works well with this one.
I think the rum has its say more on the palate, right?
Mm.
Kind of a warm, sugary, but not too loud sugar cane note, very subtle.
There's lots of sugar. It almost reminds me of like
Demerara sugar.
Or no, I get like powdered sugar, like
Sorry?
you know, like icing sugar.
Ah, okay. Well,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Really sweet powdered sugar. And I'm getting those barbecue pineapples.
Yeah, that's one of the most attractive notes in it, right? So first time you're trying.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And the peat's not too much. So the peated note is quite light.
That's why I think that's what has
dominate.
Probably what I think I've written the most about this one is the beautiful balance it has. And that's very appealing. And I think Ralphie likes that as well. Just adding a few drops because the ABV is not so high. So
yeah, after the second sip, it starts to dominate the palate a bit. The heat rises.
Yeah, more spices as well.
Yeah.
That's why I'm putting some water to open it up. Slangeva, guys, and thanks for watching. Only 6 people watching now with descending because it's getting a bit long maybe. So I don't know if we're gonna go to the TAWNY port. It's up to you guys. Tell us in the chat if you want us to try another whiskey after that. Otherwise, we might finish with this one. And I will have a last question for you. I'm divided, not necessarily better, a bit sweeter, but it loses a bit of complexity.
Yeah, totally agree.
Mm.
It softens it a bit too much.
Yeah.
Brings out lots of sweetness.
And I did only 3 drops. So that means it's bottled at a perfect ABV. Does it say... Oh, it says cask strength. It says cask strength. And it says natural color, which I was doubting a bit of it. Non-chill filtered, okay, but interesting. One other interesting thing, which is rarely mentioned, I have to say, it's the mention may contain traces of cask sediment.
Yeah, all of my Glen Scotias have bits in them. Even my double cask.
So that means it's a chill, it's a sweet filtration that's not very...
not too fine.
Not too fine, exactly. Yeah. So it's good. I have a spoiler.
My Victoriana's got black bits in it.
Ooh.
You can actually see little black flecks in it.
Okay, I have a spoiler for you guys. I learned, and I wasn't super happy about that. Blackadder bottler, independent bottler, which I almost worked for at the time, and because of a French bad guy, I couldn't. Parenthesis. He almost broke the thing. Didn't keep his barrel. Otherwise, I will be living happily with lots of bottles every year on the contract. And okay, parenthesis closed. There are cask sediments in the Blackadder bottlings, but he did kind of admitted for some whiskies that have not, he adds it, which shocks me a bit.
Really?
Make it more genuine.
Adds character.
I don't agree with that.
No.
It's not very cool.
That's obviously what they're trying to do. Make it more character.
Yeah, but so yeah, filtering. Also, I know for a fact, also, sorry to interrupt you, that for some whiskies stated as cask strength, they are not cask strength. It's a choice of strength that's mostly for commercial reasons, especially when it is a rounded number, sorry. For instance, when you see 60% ABV said as cask strength, it is not, because it's often 61.4 or 60.8, and they will dilute it down to make it cask strength, also for consistency of price and taxes reasons. I can tell you, for instance, Sullivan's Cove cask strengths I have are not cask strength. They were slightly diluted, and I know it by the producer. Are they bad for that? Having said that, are they bad? No. Yeah. So Lee, I think we agree with Toby. I can say that it's not necessarily the best thing to do with that one. Or try it, but not if you have a sample, a small sample, maybe not. If you have the full bottle, okay. But voila. That is said. So your final thoughts on this one, Toby? Maybe for now?
I really like that. Shame I haven't got a bottle of it.
Yeah, and it's different from the range, the core range, right?
Yeah.
Very different. Will you go for the last one? As you have the sparring partner, Tony Port.
Yeah, I'm up for it.
Okay, fantastic. So if you guys, Luna is gone, I'm afraid. I didn't saw her. I would have loved to have her on board for that one, maybe. So guys, if you can you show, please? Yeah, because I don't have it. Toby, the bottle. So if you have this one, let me highlight you more. You feel like opening it?
Yeah.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah, so this is 52.8%. Non-chill filtered, cask strength, natural colour.
Same punishment.
Yeah.
Or not.
Now look, see if it's got bits floating in it.
Oh.
Can't see any in this one.
Oh. It's the second time I'm trying it.
No, can't see any bits.
Oh. Well, I'm not sure you will be having hard times if you swallow them, but this is another distillery I would like to visit, by the way, with the Springbank. And there was a question I forgot to ask you. If it wasn't for the COVID crisis, Toby, what is the whiskey trip you would have liked to plan next, and why?
Yeah, it definitely would be Scotland, but I don't know where.
Okay.
Because obviously, when you're drinking whiskey and trying new whiskey, it isn't worth doing it by yourself. And there's plenty of whiskey people I've met online who live in Scotland. So you want to maximise your trip to Scotland and meet some of them. So
Sure.
although I think I know where I'd like to go, I'd rather try and meet up with people.
Fantastic.
As part of the journey instead of just, doing trips to distilleries by myself.
Well,
so if that meant going to a distillery that wasn't on my radar, I'd go there.
Okay. Well, I'd probably...
Isn't it?
Sorry?
It's all about the experience.
Oh, yeah, sure.
With others.
Well, I went in Scotland last time 2 years ago with someone who's not experimented in whiskey, and he's my best friend, and we enjoyed the trip a lot. So it doesn't mean you necessarily have to be with the most expert people to enjoy your visits. Also, a problem of character. You have to fit with people.
Yeah, and I don't think you have to go to your favourite distilleries either. You just have to enjoy whiskey with friends.
Yeah, or then after you have the right to want to visit your favorite distillery.
Oh yeah, but I think if you can put together a journey that includes people and spending time and sharing whiskey.
Yeah. I agree with that. I couldn't do it the last time because it was I won the trip. Where was it? Buying a whiskey. Oh yeah, buying a non-interesting whiskey, by the way, a blended whiskey. And I didn't know they have this option well, I knew they had a journey to win for 4 days, but I didn't knew it was a road trip. And I'm not driving, Toby. I don't have my license. So I had to pick up someone who drives and is kind enough to be interested in this kind of things, whiskey, and also have a good character to handle me, if I may say. And we fit very well, and I think it shows. The report is on my website. And the only thing, we had to pick up distilleries that fit to our schedule, which was very tight. So we couldn't go everywhere we wanted and say, hello, Roy, or hello, this one or this one. Can you meet there? Oh, it's 200 kilometers from where we're going, and we don't have but next time, I think I will do it by myself and see if we can... I cannot think, for instance, of going to Glasgow, visit Glasgow without meeting Roy.
See, also, I think the biggest problem for me in planning a trip around distilleries in Scotland is I do drive, but how do you drink and drive? You can't.
Yeah.
You need a designated driver, or you need to plan around public transport, which isn't going to be very good in the more remote places. So how do you do that? It's
persuade your is going to visit some fancy museums or seashore sceneries while you're going to try. You see what I mean?
Yeah, see, fortunately, my wife doesn't drive. My son does, so maybe I'll just take my son, as he got me into whiskey.
Mm-hmm. So you got a plan now.
Yeah, so he can drive me.
Okay, so you see, guys, that color is turning into reddish a bit, even not being red.
It's really jammy on the nose, like strawberry or raspberry jam.
Ooh. So second time for me.
Okay,
so you have
really jammy, fruity notes.
Yeah. So you haven't had it before on a sample?
Yeah, I've had a sample of it before.
Okay.
And that's what made me buy a bottle.
Yeah, it's very concentrated. Nothing really stands out except those ripe fruit, red fruits.
Yeah, it's really, really sweet and sugary.
Can we say it's less smoky than the previous one as well, right?
On the nose, definitely.
On the nose.
There is a hint of peat and funk in there, but it really is quite slight.
Well, the port is dominating.
Yeah, definitely.
At least the nose. We'll see now Slangeva for the palate. Nice. In some ways, completely different than the other. In others, in the balance sweetness, similar. I don't know.
It's not as sweet on the palate as it is on the nose for me, but it is sweet. But it's not as sweet.
Yeah, I agree. There's
But
more
the
temperament, more spices, warm spices.
And there is on the palate. There's more sweetness than there is peat and funk.
Well, the question is now, we cannot answer the question, but if we have tried it blind, would we have said it was a Glen Scotia? I'm not sure on my side.
No, probably not.
I might have said some kind of port finish, Lagavulin or Lafroig, but not Lafroig. There's too wood smoke in Lafroig that bothers me sometimes. It's a bit tricky, this one, to recognize blind, I guess.
Reminds me a bit of a wine finish, Kilhoman I've got.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
That's what I would have said it was Nyla because of that sort of peated character.
But then on some points, I would have said maybe Ben Riach. I don't know. But it's not it's not a continental peat.
I don't have any experience with Ben Riach. There's too many and not enough money to buy them.
Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. Oh, and then, yeah, I'll let you finish. I will add a few drops, but something tells me it's same, not necessarily the best thing to do.
Yeah, I think I'll do the same, but I think it's perfect.
3 drams, 3 drops. No, it's cleverly made, like the previous one, right? Very carefully, yeah. Okay. So we're trying now the Campbeltown Festival, Glen Scotia, 14 years old, Tony Port finish with a few drops to finish the show. So I forgot to say bye-bye to Lee.
I think it increases the peat.
Wow, yes. Yeah, I agree.
Peat goes up, it goes down.
And the heat, yeah. More peat, less fruit. It's strange. I agree with you.
Yeah, that's...
Should we say it's getting more Springbanky in a way? Or Longroy? I don't know. No. Longroy has very distinctive style now, I think. Interesting. But it's Campbeltown. It's what I like, that it's unmistakably Campbeltown now, right? With a Heure. The funk is there. Nice. Okay, one last question. Are you ready, Toby?
Yep.
Coming back to your channel, my friend, what is your goal for the following year to come?
Oh,
thank you, Akshay.
It's difficult because obviously I want to reach more people. I want to share my journey, but I definitely want to do more blind tastings because it's quite easy to take the time to get used to a whiskey, to write the notes and share the experience I've had with it, and what I like and don't like about a whiskey. But I really enjoy the blind tastings and learning about whiskey, and I think that's what I want to do more of in the next sort of 12 months, is more blind tastings and more sort of, I suppose, experimentation. You don't know what you're going to get until you filmed it, whereas when you review a whiskey, you know what you're going to get because you've tasted it, and you're sharing, what you like or dislike about a whiskey. So definitely more blind tastings, and maybe some live streams as well. Maybe some live blind.
You don't do many live streams, right? So far, or I'm mistaken?
No, I don't.
So there you have one proposal. Next time I send you samples, let's say, I don't know, 4 samples, blind.
Yeah.
And we do it, if you feel comfortable, live, otherwise private live, as you wish. Well, you take your time.
Yeah, either way. Yeah, why not? Push me out of my comfort zone.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. I'm quite happy to try new things, but I think I'm still, I'd still say I'm fairly new to whiskey. I'm still learning all the time. My palate is developing, and I need to test myself from time to time, and that's where blind tastings really come into it.
So hard to say now that you tried it, that Highland Park Thor. Do you think you would have said it was a Highland Park, for instance? Hard to tell now.
It is hard to tell. Maybe I've still got some left, so maybe I put that in my mystery whiskey. Maybe I'll put that in my advent calendar, and if somebody makes that one of the 24, we'll find out.
Aha! Let me know if you recognize it.
So.
Great. I think it's time to wrap up. It was lovely to speak with you. You didn't see the time passing. Almost 3 hours, my friend. It was lovely. I hope we managed to entertain people. For me, it was something special, and I'm glad you proposed it to group our birthday, to chat live about what we like. And hope to have you another time on my channel, or maybe on yours, as you wish. And again, a happy birthday to you.
And to you.
Thank you. And thank you guys for watching.
On your birthday. Yeah. I've got a little bit left.
I don't have left, but just a few drops. So yes, thank you very much for being my guest today. I enjoyed it, and there'll be more coming in later on. So people, once again, please check out Whiskey Shared channel. Lots of reviews, lots of videos about many different whiskies, and interesting things to come, I know, of some distilleries we talk about. So don't miss it. Oh, Antonio is there. Yeah, we're going to close it up, but thank you so much for popping in. I love your channel. Check out Whiskey Quest as well, guys. Really lovely and unique style, I can say, I think. Channel, funny, very friendly, very easygoing, but also enjoyable. So thank you, Antonio, again. One of the most, I will say, friendly. I don't have a better word in English, but channels around in the US. Cheers, everyone. Thank you again so much. You can stay a few minutes if you like backstage to kind of debrief, Toby. And we're going to say bye-bye to everyone. Cheers, everyone. Bye. Enjoyed
Bye.
your and cheers, Jason. You stayed late, Doug, and all you guys. Actually, take care.